Hey everybody, so we are continuing our work with inequalities and multiplying and dividing by negative numbers in inequalities. And this time instead of fractional coefficients, we have decimal coefficients. So let's get at it. We're at page 229, it's example B. Negative 4/10 x is greater than 1.6. So again, we're going to divide by negative 0.4. And we're dividing by negative 4/10 because negative divided by a negative is a positive. And the 4/10 divided by 4/10 is 1, so we have 1x. But because we're dividing by a negative, now we need to flip our inequality. So no longer is x greater than, now x is less than. And positive divided by a negative is a negative. And 1.6 divided by 0.4 is 4, so x is less than negative 4, okay? So this is our solution set, remember. So we flip the inequality for the solution set. But when we want to substitute just to check our work, we substitute into the original inequality, right? So we substitute into the original inequality when we're substituting. So and x has to be less than negative 4. So let's just give some options. So I know that negative 6 is less than negative 4. I know that negative 8 is less than negative 4. And I know that negative 10 is less than negative 4. So sorry, you can't see that. I am going to just substitute with these three values because they fit into our solution set because they are less than negative 4. 6 is less than negative 4, negative 8 is less than negative 4, and negative 10 is less than negative 4. So let's plug these in. So negative 0.4 times negative 6. Negative 0.4 times negative 6 is going to be positive because a negative times a negative is a positive. It's going to be 2.4. Positive 2.4 is greater than 1.6. So we know that one worked. All right, let's try it with substituting negative 8 for this value. Let's see if it still works. Negative 0.4 times negative 8. Negative times a negative is a positive. 3.2. And of course, 3.2 is greater than 1.6. So we know we did it correctly. Last substitution, I'm going to do negative 10. So negative 4/10 times negative 10. Negative times a negative is a positive. And 4/10 times 10. Why am I feeling like I did that wrong? I did do it wrong. Okay. Have faith in yourself, Mrs. Saber. All right, negative times a negative is a positive, and it's positive 4, and 4, of course, is greater than 1.6. So when we substituted with values for x that fit the solution set because they were less than negative 4, when we substituted them into our original inequality, we found that it was true. We did solve this correctly. So the last step that we need to do is to graph our solution set. So x is less than negative 4. So I am going to say, let's do a negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, and negative 7. We're going to put our circle above negative 4. It is not a greater than equal to, so we're going to leave the circle empty. And x has to be less than negative 4, so the direction to be less than negative 4 is to go away from the 0, right? Farther away from 0 is more negative. And of course, if we check our Mr. Luttrell tip, our pointer of our line matches up with the back of the alligator. It's eating the bigger number, so we did that one correctly. Let's go over here. 6 is greater than negative 3/10 y. So we're going to divide by negative 3/10, divide by negative 3/10, because we want this to be y alone, a positive y. Of course, because we're dividing by a negative, we need to flip our inequality. And over here, 6 divided by 0.3, well, I'm going to say that's 20. So, and it's a negative 20 because a positive divided by a negative. So negative 20. So negative 20 is less than y. Now remember, I told you yesterday, when the y is on the right of the inequality in your solution set, flip it. So put the y on the left, but then you have to flip the inequality. And we aren't mathematically changing anything here. These actually are the same thing. Negative 20 is less than y is the same as saying y is greater than negative 20. So what I did here isn't anything about it being multiplication or division with a negative. This is all about when the variable is on the right of the inequality, just moving it to the left means that you need to flip the alligator the way it's facing. But they mean the same thing. Negative 20 is less than y is the same as y is greater than negative 20. So now we're just going to make 3 options for our solution set. So we need y to be greater than negative 20. So I am going to say negative 15. I am going to say negative 5, and I'm going to say 5. So negative 15 is greater than negative 20, right? Because it's closer to 0 on the number line. Negative 5 is greater than negative 20. Same reason, it's closer to 0 on the number line. And of course, positive 5 is greater than negative. So these are just random numbers that I picked to substitute with, but I wanted to make sure that they met my solution set requirements, that they were greater than negative 20. So remember, when we substitute into the original inequality. Okay, so if I'm going to substitute here, negative 0.3 times negative 15. This is 6. Negative times a negative is a positive. 15 times 3/10 is positive 4.5. And of course, 6 is greater than 4.5. So we know that one worked. All right, let's try to substitute a different value and see what we get. We're going to substitute negative 5 for y. So negative 5. So I'm going to go back over here. 5. It's 1.5. Negative times a negative is positive, and 3/10 times 5 gives us an answer of 1.5. And of course, 6 is greater than 1.5, so we know we did that correctly. And then lastly, let's substitute 5 in here. So negative times a positive is a negative, and then 5 times 0.3, we just did that, but I'd like to check my work, is negative 1.5. And of course, 6 is greater than negative 1.5. So with all 3 of our values that we plugged in for y, because we followed the solution set where it had to be greater than negative 20, all 3 of these worked. When we plugged them into our original inequality to substitute, they all worked. So the last thing we need to do is graph. When we're graphing our solution set. So it's y is greater than negative 20. So I'm going to say negative 21, negative 20, negative 19, negative 18, negative 17, right? So my number line is going the right way. Put my circle over negative 20. It's not an equals to, so we're not filling the circle in. And y has to be greater than that, so it's going to be headed towards 0, right? Because that's how the numbers are getting greater value. And that is how you would graph y is greater than negative 20. All right, now you're going to try some on your own.